Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hellbent Holler Live, a show we do every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you guys for joining us here at Hellbent Holler Live. My name is Jesse. This is Joe, and we got a lot of people in the chat already. We are so excited for tonight. We are so excited to get on here and talk about our latest release and everything that is going on lately. So let's make sure that you guys can see us and everything looks good.
Loud and
How
clear.
does that look?
Dooster says loud and clear.
Cool.
We look good. We look good. We look good. Hey, Goshawk is here tonight. Hey, Goshawk, I didn't see you. I didn't see you last week.
We haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah, we were actually talking about you earlier today. I hoping that you were all right, and I guess you are because you are here. So
Cool. All right, perfect.
All right, so we released the. How would you say that? A follow up to the where we saw that light or orb?
I think it was a continuation of yes, it was a continuation of that ongoing story, that ongoing saga that we're kind of going through, and it's not to completion yet. We still have a part 2 from that particular outing that we have to release, where we return into that area and go get readings off of the Black Circle. So we have that coming, and we still have to return to that area and continue to investigate it. So that area is not quite done yet. We're going to keep hammering at that because it seems like every time we go there, a new layer gets added to the weirdness, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And that night especially was, if you saw the opening that Jesse included in there, the original plan was we scouted around a few areas during the daytime, scouted on foot some of the surrounding areas. Really didn't have anything happen during the daytime. But our plan was to go up and, like she said, find somewhere centrally located, post up back to back, and just run the thermal imagers. And that is not what happened, because as we were going to set up, as darkness was falling, we started hearing stuff right before sunset. And then going in the direction of the stuff that we heard is where we found that black, we're just calling it the Black Circle, scorch mark, whatever you want to call it. And then at that point, we were pretty much just in reactive mode for the rest of the night. The plan kind of went out the window. So
yes, for sure. For sure. Kim Drescher says something has been taking its toll on you too.
Yeah, that was a pretty actually exhausting night. That was exhausting.
It's been a whirlwind couple of weeks. I think it's between that and then the process of us house hunting and doing all of that. We're a little exhausted. So if we look a little worse for the wear, it's because we're dealing with we're spinning a lot of plates right now. But yeah, we had gone to the LBL for several days. We were at the LBL for a long time, and then we came back and jumped right back into doing this work. So yeah, it does take a toll on you after a while. Some of it does, but it's part of the game, you know.
Look, I'm very sorry to hear that, my friend. So he lost his mother last month and a coworker and friend, 2 different incidents.
Oh, sorry to hear about that.
I'm sorry to hear that, buddy. Yeah, we had noticed you hadn't been on there actually. And I was going through to try to catch up on some emails, and I was going, God, I haven't heard anything from him for email for a while. And I'm glad you're here, but I'm sorry that you missed because of those circumstances. Sincerely, like our condolences go out to you, buddy.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we've got Martin and Dooster in the house. That's fresh is over. We got the whole list of usual Hellbenders. But anyway, let's talk about the Black Circle video that we released. If anybody has any questions or comments or anything that they want to have addressed, I will tell you this though, is that Jesse does all of the video production. It's a one-woman show. I sometimes help out with like intro music, and that's about it. The rest of the time, the editing, everything like that's her. And when we were putting it together, I was like, people are going to just be extremely brutal on this because they're going to go remnants of a campfire. That's all it is. And those are just coyotes. That's all it is. And we did not really get hardly any of that at all. And again, we're not saying that Black Circle is definitely paranormal or definitely supernatural. The circumstances are odd.
Yeah, it was awful weird that appeared directly in the area, not in the exact same spot, but it was in the same area that we caught that portal or orb or whatever that was during a burning light. It was in that immediate area that we found the scorch mark. And, you know, when we experienced that burning light, we felt heat. I felt heat on my face, and I had like heat on my face for hours after that into the next day. And also, we saw it with the thermal, and it was giving off extreme heat. We got video of that on the thermal in that video, so you can see that it's giving off extreme heat. And it looks like that scorch mark in the black circle video, it looks like something produced that with extreme heat.
Well,
so it's awful funny that you got these two incidents in the same area, and they have sort of similar characteristics.
The scorch mark was one thing, and we tried to show it, but the outer ring of it where everything was compacted down. Now you'd see some stuff laying on top because there's been fresh just fall, like pine cones, twigs, you know, some pine needles falling, but everything else was compacted down. The scorch mark, to me, the compressed area around it was even weirder than the scorch mark, because the Deucer had asked if we thought that maybe it was just feet, as if somebody had been like kind of going around it repeatedly. I can't say that wasn't it, but if they were being extremely precise, because that was a
perfect
circle. A circle just pressed down like. And the only thing I could think of is if somebody took like a giant rolling pin out there and just like literally rolled it around the very middle of it to compress it down. A couple quick things here that popped up, and then we'll get back to this.
Yeah.
That's Fresh. Says he's created something we both will want. Get them over to you. The UK, you want to throw the address up?
Yeah, I'll throw that up right now.
Go ahead and throw that up. And then Jones Said Farm had said that she didn't get a reminder or anything this time. We had a massive decrease in subscribers. And at first I thought it was just because everybody hated the latest video we put out. But you usually see a huge number of dislikes on a video when that happens. And we didn't see that. Universally, everybody really seemed like they enjoyed us sharing that with them. So I don't understand why we lost. So you may not even be subscribed to our channel anymore. So if you don't mind, it would help us out if you kind of go through and check that.
Yeah, double check you're subscribed, and also double check that you have your notifications on. Make sure you hit that bell icon, because that will turn your notifications on. So anytime we put something up or we go live, you'll get a direct notification that we have done so.
Because we're going to be doing some more as we do equipment testing sometimes. If it's something interesting, we will just put it on. Some of these equipment testing outings, sometimes we think things might be happening. So we might, if we have signal, go live on those. So anyway.
Stingray 1975 says, I have no logical ideas on what made that black circle. We have no idea either. I think there was a lot of ideas posited that could be logical explanations, but as you dive deeper into the characteristics of that black circle, those kind of get thrown out the window. So we have no clue whatsoever could have caused that.
Well, and then Martin, our friend Martin here, says the black circle was totally epic. I've only heard that particular roar, and he's talking about that sound that's the very beginning of those howls that we heard once in the LBL in 1993, the same from Red River Gorge. And if you guys are not familiar with Red River Gorge, Kentucky, there is a lot of extremely violent and aggressive dogman activity that takes place there. Matter of fact, there's one story that's going around where some people were out camping, and they ended up literally getting into a firefight and shooting their way out with these things. And then the third was ours. So can't get much better credentials than Martin Groves saying that it was impressive. So
Kim Drescher says, the sound of the coyotes doesn't sound like multiple creatures. It sounded like a cacophony from one single source. That's almost scarier than like a group of things,
We've seen some big
canids.
Canines up there that might just be coy dogs, or somebody's up there breeding wolves and is just letting them run free. That was on the very edge of it. We saw that really sickly looking thing that night that was like a white that was like low to the ground. We saw it for a split second. Might have just been a sickly coyote that was kind of hunched down. I don't know. It didn't look natural, but who knows? We just saw it for a second. But we've seen some big we've seen some big canines nearby there. So we weren't quite sure when we heard it. And when I say big, I'm talking like size of like a German Shepherd, like a good sized German Shepherd. So it's not just like little, 40, 50 pound coyotes running around, at least in an adjacent area. There's some pretty sizable canines. So that's why we moved back at that point.
Yeah.
Ryan Holloway asks, do you remember how you felt anyway if you touched the circle? Actually, when we went back, we end up touching the circle and I end up getting sick.
Yeah.
So Jesse and I are having a little conflict right now as to what to include in that second video, because I really don't want footage of me dry heaving and not so dry heaving against the side of a tree. And she wants to include everything because she thinks it's important. So
yeah,
I got a little ill, and it might have just been.
I think we'll do like a tasteful. I think I'll include like tasteful puking.
Tasteful puking. But it was a weird feeling. I say something really odd at the time, and I'm not usually given to phrases like this, but I was just like, I felt like a little piece of darkness just like wedged itself into my stomach when that happened, and I just felt bad and wrong and just gross until we got a distance away, and then I got like ticked off. I was like, we're not leaving. I'm just gonna, I'll dump bullets, and it just really just had like, once I got out of there, I just felt kind of defiled, almost, as a really weird way to describe it. I just felt like dirty, like something had just smeared filth on me. And I'm not even doing it justice right now describing it, but I was ticked when we got out. You'll have to like bleep most of my language out when we got a ways away from it, but it was weird. It was definitely weird.
I don't think I've seen a drastic change in your behavior or anything like that since then. So hopefully there's no lasting effects.
No, I don't. I felt
contact with whatever that was.
And I just got once I got some distance to it there. Yeah. Anyway, we'll have that up.
Rick Tavernier says, Jesse, did you get my time marks? 38:49 sounded like a growl. 45:53 whisper sounded like let's do it and just do it. So I'm listening to some of those with headphones and trying to kind of get those out. When you guys point stuff like that out to me, I check it out. And sometimes if it's like really crazy, I can isolate it and then kind of include it in another video later on. So if you hear stuff like that, you can always let us know, which a lot of you do not hesitate to let us know. That's how we
love that.
That's how we get a lot of the really cool extra stuff, because it's so hard to review all of this footage. We have hours and hours and hours of footage, but you guys are our additional eyes and ears. You guys are also on the team as our additional eyes and ears. And we really appreciate you guys looking out for that additional stuff that we may have missed.
Prime Mover video is quite remarkable as to how perfectly round that circle was. Yeah, and we talked about it, that people were going, maybe somebody put a cauldron down and made a fire in it. I can't say that wasn't the case. And it just burned. It doesn't explain the compressed area around it, and it doesn't. That was a very even scorch mark. The heat would usually radiate out a little bit. So I don't know. It might be mundane. We're not saying it, but it's interesting. It's unusual. And the fact that we found it fairly close to where we saw that light that night makes it that much more interesting. Susan C. putting some YouTube advice. You need to hit the bell and change to all. The white bell will only send you some notifications. I didn't even know that. Okay.
Okay.
Get that black bell.
Black bell.
Black bell.
For the black circle.
So.
Prime Mover Videos says, quite remarkable how perfectly round that circle was. Yes, it was perfectly round. It was. I think I kept repeating that. And the area that was pressed down and completely cleared and completely pressed down around it was perfectly circular too. It's reminiscent of what you hear about, or what we've read about in Jacques Vallée's books, Passport to Magonia. Is there are spots all over the world where people have actually physically seen UFOs, or going to be described as UFOs or UAPs, landing, and they will find similar kinds of marks on the ground. Not that I'm saying that I think this is a UFO or definitively saying that, but it does have some really interesting parallels to that.
Some sort of energy like what we saw that night, where we think it was a portal or a UAP or whatever. And we looked around to make sure, because one of the things with those classic UFO landing sites is there's 3 scorch marks. That was the only one that at least we found through there within within like, like a 30, 40 like yard radius. But again, with it being pressed down and then scorched like that, I just don't know. It was very, very weird. And it was the fact that it's like, as soon as we kind of knelt down next to it, we got all of those like weird howls and screams.
Yeah.
It was just also pretty odd. Marcus Aurelius, thank you for that, sir. Can't imagine how you lost subs. It's the best cryptid search channel on YouTube. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Again.
Yes.
Thank you twice. Yeah, the night excursions get a little intense. And like I said, I don't know what happened with it. Maybe it just, a lot of people looked at us and went, hey, we're tired of their shtick. But we had a pretty noticeable like subscriber loss. And I was just going, all right, well, I expect this video to get just brutalized with like dislikes, and that was not the case. So I couldn't figure it out. So
yeah, just make sure you guys are, on board here with it, because YouTube's been kind of weird with some of the subscribers and everything. So
Rick wanted to know, what precautions do you take for any demonic activities that you might come against? We honestly don't take precautions in there with us, because
every time we have in the past,
nothing happens.
It has prevented. Well, we're assuming it's prevented, but
maybe it's coincidence, but it's happened and I've talked about this before. We took vials of holy water and then blessed black salt that's in a blessed container, and we were taking it up there to basically put around that tree where we've been finding all that stuff at. I was just like, I don't like this tree. The tree always seems like wrong to me. It doesn't seem.
And the tree he's referring to is the one from previous videos where we have found rings of quartz around it.
Yeah.
That's also the tree where we left the recorder during supernatural predators and got those really strange recordings of those, what sounded like two entities sort of in a conversational manner, but one was clicking and one was kind of growling. But that's the tree that he's referring to.
Yeah. And we call it the offering tree because it looks like we always thought that people were leaving, or something was leaving offerings there. The quartz, we found that bird feather would just, for some reason, it's always almost seemed like I don't know if I want to say a place of worship, but it's got that feel to it. And we were going to take like holy water up there and bury it around it. And we ended up not doing it that night, but I had the holy water and the salt in my chest rig, and I just left it in there. And then I put it in my pack, and we were going out. We went out what, 2 or 3 times, and nothing happened. Hey, it was 3 times, because at the end of it, I just went, you're not going to believe what I still have with me. And we took it out. And then the very next time we went out, we had like crazy activity up there.
So that kind of makes me think, that kind of makes me nervous that what we're dealing with is possibly something demonic, right?
Or something that is affected by, I don't know, something that is, I don't know. I have no answer.
I mean, even with encounters with possible extraterrestrials, there has been incidents of people invoking the name of Jesus, and it causes the incident to cease. So, I mean, that kind of lends it to that this could possibly be something that's connected to demonic activity, right?
Yes, and so we take it with us, but we leave it in the car nowadays. Yeah. So we leave it in the car, and we don't carry it with us at this point. So there's that.
Yeah.
And here we go.
Make sure you guys hit that like button, since you guys are in the chat and you guys are watching right now. Make sure you hit that like button. We really appreciate that. We are going through the chat right now,
talking
trying
about
to catch up.
People talk. I'm still back where they're talking about me getting sick. So,
Okay, Bronwyn Pawson is asking, hi, Jesse and Joe. You mentioned on the last video you were using the fusion palette on the thermal. What is the difference between that and the red hot setting? So in the fusion palette, you have all of those different colors, and it's a gradient of colors. So the coldest part is going to be blue, and it goes through to purple, red, orange, and then yellow. So anything that is going to be the hottest thing on the fusion palette is going to be yellow. But you have that whole range of colors on that. I really like the fusion palette because you can get kind of a gradient of what's warmer and what's colder. You can really see the gradient of it. When you do just the red hot setting, everything is in black and white. And the hottest thing on the screen is going to be red. So it really targets what is the hottest thing there. And so even if it's, say there's an animal there, if there's parts of the animal that are cooler, it's only going to have the hottest part of the animal. So you're going to have the hottest things. So the red hot palette is really handy when you're going through the woods and you're just looking around and you want to go very quickly and want to really just instantly see the hottest thing that you're looking at through that thermal. The fusion palette is really good if you are taking your time and going through and really seeing kind of the different layers of the forest and seeing what is out there and what is getting off different levels of heat or coolness.
And so people have seen some pretty weird stuff. We've had 2 people send us still images from that. One I'm not sure of. The other one almost looks as if something is looking at us from between the V of a tree where a tree is split. We're still looking at that. Anyway,
I was about to hit that.
TCR 44, when you felt something rush you with a car, do you think it was a predator? I have no clue. I didn't feel it. We're coming down and I just, like, out of the very edge of my peripheral vision, I just had this black mass like rushing towards me. And it's weird. I felt it. I felt like I was getting ready to get tackled to the ground. I like tensed up and got ready to kind of brace myself because I thought I was getting tackled to the ground. And I didn't even have enough time to just go to just discern what it was. My mind just went, you're getting ready to get taken to the ground. And I just tensed up and kind of just braced for impact at that point. And then there's just nothing there. And that's when I told her to get in the car because I'm going, there was just something right here. So, but I mean, again, when I say the very edge of my peripheral vision, like I can't see my hand right now. Now I can see my hand a little bit, like literally right there on the edge of it, getting bigger, bigger, bigger.
And I think you can see, I think I included in the video, you're kind of looking around very stiltedly, kind of looking around.
Because I'm just, I'm still stiff. I mean, I stiffened up. Like I said, again, that's the best way to describe it, is that I kind of braced to, like, cause I'm going down. And then I'm still kind of like, it was very bizarre, very, very, very bizarre. But I mean, you know what, your eyes will, I can't even say that because your eyes don't play tricks on you that much when you're out there sometimes. Because I mean, again, when you're doing this all the time like that, when you're out there just week after week after week,
you kind of know what an artifact looks like.
Yeah, you kind of know that, and you get startled by stuff sometimes. You know what I'm saying? We've gotten just instantly startled, but I've never had that feeling like that before. So it was very bizarre.
Yeah. You're going to love this. Let's open the floodgates right out the gate here, everybody. North Central Ohio Paranormal says, your physical feelings, a result of infrasound projection from a possible cryptid, maybe?
I can't say that it's not, but what I experienced does not match up with the typical zapped stuff. I had a very weird...
It wasn't so much a physical reaction, but maybe a spiritual one.
I don't even want to use those words.
Okay.
But it's
because that scares you?
I don't know. I mean, I just don't think in terms like that.
Okay.
But I felt like something dark slid inside my stomach, and that's all I can say. And then I got sick. You can include that part, but I'm holding the camera filming her and I get sick. I just it comes out of nowhere on me. I don't have time to put the camera down, hand the camera, anything. You just hear me go, and I don't know. It did not feel like what she's described happened, like what Martin Groves has described happened. We've talked to several other people that have had those zapped kind of encounters. We've talked to people. We're talking to a guy right now, I'm not going to mention his name, who is having some extreme physical reactions to
witnessing orbs and
I don't even know if you call them orbs, man. They're
sounds and all this other stuff.
But he's having some real physical stuff, and he is convinced, and the doctors can't determine what's causing this. And he's going, it's the stuff that's in my backyard. How do I tell a doctor that, though? Excuse me, but
without getting yourself committed.
That's what he's looking at. But I mean, what I felt like I'm having a hard time describing what it was. I mean, eventually maybe I'll come up with the words to it, but yeah. Steve Causey's in the house somewhere. How are you, Steve?
Hello,
Hope you got
Steve.
those pictures.
Melody asks, could be drug residue you touched. If the cult is watching you, they could have planted something for you to touch.
Yeah, but we've never been in, and again, you can't rule that out. I can't say that's impossible.
That's an interesting angle.
And that's a very interesting pot.
It's a very interesting angle.
And I'm going to be honest with you, Melody, I don't think that was the case in this instance, but I think it's a possibility down the road. That's something we need. That's something we haven't really thought about.
Yeah.
We look for booby traps. We look for, I mean, that's paranoia maybe, but we look for booby traps, and maybe we need to be making sure that we don't touch, because we.
Do you think on these like things like something like the triangle that we found? Do you think on something like that, some of these pieces that could have been possibly used for a ritual, or even the hook that could have been possibly used as a device to tie somebody up, or a binding? Do you think that they could do something like that? And do you think using the UV light, we could kind of or be able to like identify that there's something foreign?
Probably be able to identify it on there. The big thing is that we're not. That's an area we've never been in before.
Yeah.
So if they baited that area or trapped that area, then there's probably traps all over that area. And I'm just saying trap, meaning that they left something.
Another thing to think about is I touched the circle as well. And I did not have the same physical or mental reaction that you did.
Yeah.
But I touched the circle several times.
So,
and I didn't have the same reaction you did.
That's something that we need to be maybe a little bit more aware of going forward.
Yeah, that's a good angle.
Possibility, Melody. Thank you for bringing that up. So,
hello, Frank.
Hello, Frank.
It's been so long since I've seen you. All right, let's see.
You want to swing to the bottom?
Yeah. If you want to come in the middle, I'll swing to the bottom because I know we're trying to catch up. You guys are getting us.
Here, Gunpowder Owl's got a good thing. It reminds him of a brand or something. More like something super hot was pressed to the ground than like a fire. And that's the impression that we got with just the. I mean, you could tell that the forest floor around it in a circular pattern was different than the rest of the forest floor.
Yeah.
You saw some fresh fall on it, but then to me, that just made the packed part look that much more packed down. It really kind of gave a delineation between what was not compacted down and not. And I don't know. It was weird. Do you know what I'm saying? It was weird. It was a weird thing in an area known for weird things. So,
Paul M says that not paranoid, but North Georgia has had a few booby traps found, usually placed by meth producers. Big problem there. Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, we try to keep an eye out for that kind of stuff. And where we go is very, very, very remote. I'm at the bottom if you want to scroll through. Gunpowder Owl has an interesting theory here. He goes, sort of a scary thought, but maybe something was trying to get Joe, the cautious one, out of the picture in order to have a better chance of making contact with Jesse. That is a very scary thought. So I don't ever go in the woods without Joe, because I think I would probably just go off into the ether and never be heard from again.
You'd never be heard from again.
Yeah, so. Because I just run at things. So,
and what's weird is that I'm usually not as cautious as what you guys see on there, but I have to be, because there has to be some level of common sense and safety and caution in this, as opposed to you just going, I'm going to go to it, so but that's a very disturbing, and I don't know, that's fresh. Was there any sign of a hole in the center? No. But I'm going to mention this real quick because it's kind of cool. When we were taking photos of it, so we're using the full spectrum camera. To take like still images and then video images of it.
Well, I was using my phone. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Jessie pulled her phone out, and we're taking photos of it with her phone. Well, we had our lights off for a minute. And she's looking at it, and there's a light in the black circle that you could only see on the phone. You couldn't see it with your naked eye, and you couldn't see it with the full spectrum camera. And that should be impossible, because the full spectrum camera has a wider spectrum of visible light that it picks up than her cell phone does. She's got a nice phone, but it shouldn't have worked like that. Optically, I don't understand how that's possible. But we filmed her phone doing it, and you could see a light on the phone that you couldn't see with anything else.
Yeah.
Definitely not our naked eye, not the full spectrum. We have no clue how that happened yet. And it's a light. It's a light in the black circle that and so we'll have that footage definitely in the next one.
Yeah, because we filmed my phone screen, and I'm like moving it around, and like that's staying there.
And anybody who knows more than I do about, the optics of that, on how maybe there's some sort, we've never seen anything like that before.
No.
Usually, and we had no other lights. So it wasn't, there's just no reason why the full spectrum.
That was very odd. That was very, very
If
odd.
we had caught something like that, I would expect to not see it with the naked eye, not see it with your phone, but catch it with the full spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, there's a light here that's outside the visible spectrum, but just on your phone was bizarre. So
Leroy asked, any sounds during that? No, other than when we first touched it, and the coyotes sound happened, or whatever that was happened. We had some sounds around us during the whole thing, and the probably the most shocking thing though was that dang, like that screaming from the coyotes or whatever that was. And then as we're leaving out of there, I heard that laughter. That was very, very strange.
And I'm gonna go ahead and address this real quick. What's funny is that we get to the car, we pull out, because I just needed to clear my head after that rushing thing. That was bizarre. That's before I got sick. That rushing, that's feeling, and that peripheral vision of me being rushed was like, and I'm going, there's something out here. She'd already heard that weird laughing. So we got out and we went to that cemetery. There's an old church that used to be there before a lot of this land was made public. And that looks like the church burned down at one point, and there's still an old cemetery there. And then they have that structure that you see, I guess, for like, I don't know if it's ever used. We've never seen anybody up there, but I saw those lights. Well, Jesse saw those lights in the cemetery. Then I go over and like watch them. I could barely catch them. They're just drifting through the cemetery. They're moving real slowly. And I couldn't tell if one of them was winking in and out, or if it was just going behind like tombstones or whatever. And that's why I was losing vision of it. But I downplay that for her, because I was just going, we're not rushing into the woods through the cemetery after these lights right now. So she didn't even really know that I'd caught it to that degree until she reviewed the footage.
Yeah.
And she's like, why didn't you tell me? And I was going, because I didn't want to go in after him at that point.
And what's crazy was this was right after we were just up the mountain and experienced that. It was just like, come down the mountain.
And then it's there. That's there. Yeah.
Something else is there. Yeah. That's such a wild area. I feel like we could go there. And I say that we say this about the LBL a lot too, that we could go to that area and just explore it and explore it and explore it. And it just seems like there's such a variety of phenomenon taking place there that we could just keep doing that. And it would just, I don't know. It just seems like it's such a variety of phenomenon that it's like, okay, what is it this time? What is it next? But we're going to keep checking it out until we can't anymore, for sure.
Lance Lenmark had asked, how about game cameras in that spot? Have used a variety of game cameras in that greater area before, and I've never caught anything with them. We have cameras out right now, but I'm not going to say exactly where. But no, we're on the same page you are. We've got cameras up through there, stationary cameras. We've never had any luck with in that area.
Pyromedic says, have you ever heard of people taking still shots of the orbs to see if they show anything you can't see with the eye? I think it was the Bledsoes.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull that
up.
We're
taking photos of these orbs, and they were seeing like faces in them.
Yeah, the Bledsoes are some famous UFO contactees, and they, let me see here. There we go. They have had some crazy stuff going on, and
you wouldn't share that.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna. They've had some crazy activity take place. They had a crazy encounter. They've gotten some wild photographic evidence. When Tom DeLonge was all the rage with the Two to Stars Academy, he shared a picture that the Bledsoes had taken, and he goes, "This is what an alien looks like," and shared it on Twitter, and it made a huge thing. But the Bledsoes have taken pictures of some of the orbs around their homes. And as you can see here, this is one of the orbs, and you can see a couple of faces in there. You see some faces.
You can definitely see.
You can see some faces that look as if they're looking at you dead on, and then from another way you look, and it looks like two faces in profile. So people, that has happened to see where people have taken pictures of orbs and then found things that they did not realize that were in there at a later date.
Let's see here. Shy Violence says, will you keep visiting the current high activity area after you move? Yes, we're actually moving a little closer to it.
Yeah, it'll be a little closer.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, we'll keep going there until we're mixing up our approach there right now.
Yeah. Sometimes we take breaks from there too.
Just to make sure that in case anybody's up there, because you can't rule out any sort of human. We know that there's human occult activity.
And we do the show every week. Yeah. And so they know, like, okay, they're going up or they're doing this.
Yeah, so we're trying to be a little bit more unpredictable as far as that goes.
Especially after the weird stuff that occurred in the LBL, the human element.
Yeah, but it's hard because it gets really active sometimes up there. And it's crazy to go, okay, we're going to go somewhere else this week. But we know that if we go somewhere else this week, we may or may not have anything happen. But we're going, gosh, if we just went up to the spot, it's more than likely we would experience something.
And not only the human element, you gotta, I hate to say it, you don't want these, whatever these things are, these entities, these creatures, to know your patterns, to figure out, oh, they come up on these days and they go to this area. So we have to vary our approach basically for safety's reasons as well.
Yeah. Take Two Wheels. What's up, buddy? What's up, everyone? Last episode was outstanding. Thank you. War Criminals in here. Hey, T-Boneless. There's Tales from the Narc Side's got a YouTube channel, and she's constantly talking to somebody called T-Boneless. I saw it the other day, and I don't know who that is. I don't think he's somebody very nice from the sounds of it, but I have no clue. T-Boneless, yeah. Stephen Taylor supposedly in. Stephen, how are you?
Sounds like a very aggressive, like a very aggressive pimp or something.
T-Boneless. Yeah. So, yeah. All right, Sam Burton, all the gang's all here. Paul M.
Red Wolf said about that Bledsoe photograph. It looks like a cell under a microscope
with faces in it.
With faces in it. Yeah. Somebody mentioned that Chris Bledsoe has put out a book that's pretty good. Johnny says that my aunt took a pic of an orb and her deceased husband's face was in it. What? Perfect picture of his face.
Do you have a copy of that photo?
Yeah, I'd like to see
it.
that.
That'd be awesome.
There's been a lot of instances where that seems to happen.
Randall Johns asked if it was a physical. I don't even know that it's something physical rushed me. Or I don't even know if, heck, man, I can't even rule out that my mind was playing tricks on me at that point. I mean, there was nothing there when I looked. So I don't know. I don't have an answer for it. The sensation, it's weird because when it happened, when I got it coming in, especially in the summertime when there's insects flying around and stuff like that, your eye catches movement. And yeah, you flinch sometimes, like looking, and you realize, oh, it was just a bug flying near my face. But I didn't even flinch on this. I tensed up because I'm going, all right, I'm going down, you know. My first instinct was not to turn and look at it. My first instinct was to kind of brace myself. So I can't say what it was, or even that it's anything at all. So
Gunpowder Owl says, just curious, what would have to happen with the cult for y'all to involve law enforcement? Not saying you should, just wondering.
That's difficult to do in that area.
Very difficult because we don't know to what extent they are involved with the law enforcement of the area. That's a thing with when you're in an area that you are not a part of the community directly and you are not familiar with the ins and outs of who is on what side and what alliances people have or what groups people belong to. You can't just automatically trust that law enforcement officials are going to be like, oh yes, let me help you with this problem, instead of you are the problem for whatever I'm up to. So you don't know who's aligned with who. So it's kind of hard to involve law enforcement when it comes to these issues.
On here, it all says the burnt spot on the ground was from some sort of outdoor heater, maybe a rocket stove, and the rest is from. We have a rocket stove, and a rocket stove doesn't leave burn marks like that. But I can't say that again. Somebody mentioned a cauldron. The compressed area around it, I can definitely rule out people standing around it because it was a circular, evenly pressed down area around that scorch mark. So,
so the likelihood of somebody being in that particular area is very low because
you can't rule it. I bet you can't
rule it
though.
out. I understand you
But,
can't.
yeah.
I said very low, not impossible. But yeah, you can't rule that out. But it's a very remote, weird, way off the beaten path of any kind.
Yeah, but it's
location.
the beaten path is perfectly, because the beaten path is the area around it is not caused by feet. I can tell you that. It's just not. And there was an even circular pressure applied through there, which I don't have an explanation. And I can't think of anything. I've thought all sorts of stuff. Maybe they had like a round tent, and I'm going, how much did this tent weigh? You know what I'm saying? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, even a heavy tent's not going to be heavy enough to. It's just, I don't have an answer for it. I just don't have an answer. I don't know if you took like a metal circular plate out there, like a wide one, and put it there, that there was a great amount of force pressed down on that. I can't think of anything that could
like, what is this weird?
I can't. I mean,
I like when you do your weird like leaps of logic.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just what I'm doing. But it's I just can't think of a thing that would actually explain it. So,
War Criminal 7 asks, do y'all know what cult is operating in the research area? No, but there are hints of there are small hints of the Finders cult sort of in there. If you are familiar with ritual satanic abuse of the 1980s and the 1990s, there was the satanic panic, but there was also something real behind that. There was something called the Finders cult that was part of this huge conspiracy, and they have a lot of hallmarks of that. They were supposed to be just destroyed and disbanded, and that was a thing of the past, but there's a lot of little hallmarks of that, so it could be a modern iteration of that.
The Deucer says, treat all unknown substances as hazardous or toxic. Wear gloves. Yeah, we usually have gloves with us. It's a juggling thing, because a lot of times the equipment, it's hard to use. Even with touch sensitive gloves, it's hard to use it with some of this equipment. But yeah, that's something that we're going to have to. There's just so many things you have to. We're going to have to do that now. We're going to have to do that now. But yeah, we're going to have to definitely try to
Use Televisions asks, from what I've read, they're nothing good, but any experience or knowledge about red orbs? I don't think I have enough data about colors and their intentions or indications at this point.
There's no, and it's funny because I saw somebody did a post somewhere about the different colors of orbs and their meanings or their effects, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be interesting. But it was just like new age type stuff, like pink orbs bring true love, and blue orbs bring hope. And I'm going, all right, this is not what I'm looking for. So I started kind of doing a little bit on there, and if there's data out there,
because some of these orbs bring me pure terror.
Yeah, exactly. None of these orbs are bringing anything good. So I don't know. I mean, we've experienced orange, green, white, red, blue, and we've never had always had this associated with blue orbs or always this associated with red orbs. But the orbs that you were discussing, there ain't nothing good about them.
Spectator Bob says, what if a disease is affecting cryptids and causing erratic behaviors? Since watching Pilates, I've learned about chronic wasting disease, and it makes deer crazy. I don't know, just theorizing.
If they were susceptible to disease, you would think that one of them would have gotten sick and died in an area that would have been found by people.
Or would have slipped up and been seen kind of wandering out doing something nutty.
And maybe that's happened. Maybe that's why, because we always look at the Patterson-Gimlin film and go...
And we're just referring directly to like Bigfoot right now.
Well, yeah, but I mean, just if we look at the Patterson-Gimlin film, and I always go, the creature that you're seeing on the Patterson-Gimlin film does not match up with most witness reports. I don't see great speed. I don't see great agility. I don't see the superhuman aspects that people always attribute to these things. I don't see that there in that creature. Maybe that creature was sick. Maybe that creature was old. I don't know. So, but then again, where are the other old and sick ones at? Why has one of them not died next to a busy highway when it's trying to do a road crossing, and then has been seen by 100 people. And
even if you've got like a Sasquatch with like a prions disease,
yeah,
it would cause erratic behavior that would be high risk taking behavior.
yeah.
A lot of times when you have anything with prions disease, it causes shaking and then erratic behavior. So it would be increasing of risk taking behavior, which would assume would mean going out and being seen by people. So
Judy Wheeler just moved to a new area. Moving to the new home in the woods between 3 state parks, and it's heavily wooded and beautiful. Go good. I'm glad. Hope your move goes well. So, Richard Cox has a good idea that a cunning predator will separate the one at once from the group. So,
Richard Cox says, "Oh, we're doing double Richard Cox back to back."
So yeah,
maybe the burn spot was from a less courageous couple than y'all who got scared.
That still doesn't explain that press down area, though, man. That's what I just can't get. And Marcus Aurelius actually has. Maybe Bruce Maccabee could have some good insights on this. Bruce Maccabee is, I'm going to look it up because I don't want to. He is a optical physicist. Yes, I couldn't remember but he's actually in is it the second Missing 411, the movie? He's the one whose wife got a picture of like that predator type creature on her cell phone. Yeah, that's great. On the cell phone. One. Yeah, because he can't figure out how the cell phone took. Yeah, now that I thought that through, you're exactly right. That would be extremely, if I had a pathway to speak to him, that would be perfect. Yeah, great idea.
Stephen Taylor says, speaking of the black circle, how close was it to the portal/light with people around it? I'd say less than a quarter mile.
Less than a quarter of a mile.
Less than a quarter of a mile.
If not closer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Real close. And as I'm looking up right now because I'm kind of charting it, we're taking into account Hilltop.
Were you about to say it's on the other hilltop?
Yeah.
Mirroring the
it's that's
what I was just thinking.
It's closer than we think it is because we have to go down and then it's
so as the crow flies,
it's extremely close.
But that's a hilltop. We go down to like that little bit of a dip, and then up on the other hilltop is where it was, but they're facing each other.
Yeah.
They're like directly facing each other. Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
All right, so Lady Wolf, did you hear that maniacal female laughter when we were both leaving? Some people said they heard it. Some people said they didn't. I don't remember hearing it at the time. I did not hear it at the time. And then I didn't hear it on there, but I've got like higher range hearing loss from gunfire with unprotected ears over the years. So it was there, but I'm just curious if somebody else heard it. Almost curious if somebody else heard it.
Marcus Aurelius, thank you for that $9.99, sir. Really appreciate it.
Thank you again.
He says the thing about cult activity locations is that their intent is to open satanic portals and often are left open, leaving further activity in said locations. We think that's definitely what we're dealing with in these areas, is that something is going on, that there's a cult activity taking place. They're opening these doorways, whatever they are, but they're opening these doorways, inviting something in, but they're not shutting them down, or something comes through and it's leading to an increase in activity. Because I know that since we've been going up there, the activity has just gotten weirder and weirder and weirder, and I don't know if it's because the phenomenon is aware of us and is more comfortable perhaps showing itself to us or interacting with us, or if the activity is increasing from this occult activity.
Yeah, and we talked about that a little bit when we talked about the Collins Elite and the Jack Parsons, and that the idea was that Jack Parsons had basically ushered in the
age of Horus,
and had opened portals that were never closed at that point.
When Jack Parsons was killed in that explosion, they think he was performing a ritual. But when he was killed, his last words were, "I was not finished yet." And if you open up a portal or you open a gateway, you need to be the one to shut it down. So if something went awry during that ritual, and then he was killed and he was not finished, he could have left the door open. All right, I'm going through here.
So I'll real quick before you. Lanceland Market said, I think some orbs could possibly be living entities themselves. There was a thing that I'd read not too long ago And it was, oh, yeah, here we go. Plasma blobs hint at a new form of life. Physicists have created blobs of gaseous plasma that can grow, replicate, and communicate, fulfilling most of the traditional requirements of life. And that's back from 2003. I remember reading that, where just going that they were able to create some stuff that mimicked life, even if it wasn't alive itself. So yeah, I wonder about that sometimes, if maybe these are not craft or anything, but it might be the creatures or the entities themselves. So
Deuster, the Deuster himself, the professor, the Custer,
yeah,
says, was the area directly above it clear enough for something like
Yeah.
a small UFO to land?
pretty tightly packed.
It was pretty tightly
trees,
packed.
yeah.
It's mostly a pine forest through there.
Yeah.
So you have, they're evergreens, and it's pretty tightly packed through there. So it's not like some sort of large craft could come down in between those trees and land. So I don't know. That's another thing too. That kind of adds to the mystery, because it's
Mhm.
not something where something from the sky could come down and land very easily. James Boggs says the Finder's cult is what started me on this path.
Yeah,
Yep.
Jesse's like deep into that
Yep.
stuff. So, all right. Take two wheels. He saw 5 little bird attack helicopters armed flying around the Kentucky Lake today, super low. He lives outside of the LBL and has seen and experienced some pretty crazy stuff through there. But there's been a huge military presence, and people were claiming that the military was doing training exercises in the LBL itself. They don't do that in the LBL itself, and if they ever did, you couldn't miss notification of it, just because for a safety aspect. The safety aspect, they're not going to do, especially with explosions, and even blank rounds can be dangerous. They're going to let the public know this area is closed down because there's, military training taking place in this area. And what's weird is that that's never done through there, but yet it seems like everybody's kind of fixated on it to kind of dispel the idea that some of the military stuff there is involved with maybe the weirder stuff that's going on there.
Yeah.
They keep trying to say that, oh, there's military exercises. And I even went and looked just to see if maybe there was something going on that we'd missed. There's been no notification of military exercises going on in the land between the lakes. So whatever's going on down there is weird. So
Paul M says, you guys really need to practice sound and light discipline heavily when in an area of occult activity. May not be conducive to filming, but safety comes first. White light is a no-no. Well, that's safety comes first with that is we have to have white light so we can see that we're not going to trip over something, break a leg, fall into a hole, fall off the side of a cliff or something like that.
I don't think that
when we're moving through the woods very quickly, which sometimes we are, we kind of have to go to white light. So that is a safety issue.
And to be honest with you, I would almost prefer to run into them one night if we could, just to have some clarity. But I don't think that they, when we saw them up there once, well, it's more than once before, there are sentries out. Let's just call them sentries. That's what they are.
I think that's the best descriptor for them.
We ran into them before up through there. And because they have a cover that they're using up there, and we've seen them when they're in the commission of the activities that they use as cover up there. From what the witnesses, and we really need to try to have that one girl on if we can try to convince her to come on and talk openly about what they experienced up there. But the occult activity is taking place while they're up in that area for other purposes at that point. So Lance Landmark says he'd feel so much more comfortable if I carried a 10-inch AR. We carry a Shockwave up there occasionally.
Yeah.
But a lot of times that's in the pack, and that's going to take a couple seconds to get out. So
not today, Saban. Let me go back here. Let's go back a little bit. Okay. Not today, Saban. We're going to follow this thread here. To jump right in, orbs, your colors have basis as per usual in physics. Frequencies have color. Look it up.
I just don't know what those colors would associate with as far as like also, behavior, effect. Or
red shift is moving away from you. Blue shift is moving towards you. The colors on the rest of the spectrum have to do with frequencies at in different states. And then on here, we're going to continue on connecting this here. Yeah, so these are the frequencies at the colors, but that would assume that can be applied to something that could be paranormal. But I guess, are you just expecting it to not be paranormal and that it adheres to
We
what
haven't,
is
and like I said,
known.
we haven't seen a rhyme or reason with the colors that we're observing
Yeah.
and any activity, any effect, anything like that at this
Yeah,
point. But again,
I don't think we have enough information to find
Yeah.
any sort of like causation, correlation information.
Mhm.
Rock Nation.
Yes. Da, da, da.
Nation of Domination. That was
Let's see.
that was a good wrestling stable. Lance Landmark, I guess that this is following up on us being in the woods with white lights and making noise. They aren't trying to be quiet. You ain't sneaking up on nothing out there. Nope.
And then here it all starts. It's been quiet. It's been pretty quiet on the ex-wives stuff the past couple of weeks. Like ex-wives, cougars. Here we go. Susan C's got something interesting. The scorched circle put me in mind of a UFO saucer landings reported where the ground in the middle was scorched and an outer ring pressed down. There were several seen in a field which left similar markings, and we're familiar with those, but it's usually in groups of 3. This was just one, and it wasn't that big. I mean, when it gets down to it, that scorch mark was not that large. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. We haven't come up with an explanation for it yet. So
Martin Groves asks Joe and Jesse, when you got home after the incident, did your equipment or your clothing or rigs have any sticky residue or your vehicle? Not that I know of.
Not that I remember.
So.
No, and I don't usually clean the equipment immediately. That's usually a next day thing, but nothing came to mind on it. And I would probably remember if.
Yeah, you would have gotten very angry about something sticky on our equipment.
Yeah. Nighthawk High Strangeness, how are you? He goes, if you heard Spearfinger, that's not good. Jesse's, from where we live at, a lot of the Cherokee lore through here, Spearfinger is something that interests her a great deal.
Yes.
It's the fall, right? Where Spearfinger is usually traditionally more active.
Traditionally, yes, because because
we need to go up into that area and
the burning fall, scent of the burning chestnuts on the ground through the I wanted to plan a kind of a Spearfinger thing,
like expedition,
like a Spearfinger focused expedition. And I have all my ideas for it, but I kind of want to let this may sound bad, but I kind of want to let the mountain monster Spearfinger thing die down a little bit.
Yeah.
I know it's been a while, but I don't want that direct association with what we're doing, because I have a lot of really cool ideas for how we're going to approach looking into that particular Cherokee legend.
Stephen Bolton. I agree that they might be unrecognized forms of terrestrial life. I believe he's talking about orbs. In fact, those in the upper atmosphere might be a second species worth considering as an ET alternative. Yeah, that's one of the things that I've always kind of been interested in, is that secondary biosphere type thing where maybe there's non-terrestrial but native life here that exists in the upper atmosphere, like gaseous creatures, or just creatures made of energy that exist up there that are native to Earth itself, but they don't have anything in common with the rest of the life on Earth at this point. So Sharon mentioned this once before, and it was just interesting, so I wanted to include it. She talked about dogmen being colorblind. Dogs have dichromatic vision. Is it possible they can see you very well in the colors you wear out there? Because we wear black and all of, not black, but darker clothing, that it might stand out like a sore thumb out there. That's just something that I'd never really heard anybody mention, as far as the dichromatic vision with dogman, and how our clothing might stand out on that. So
Stingray 1975 says, look up the Bet Sphere. Something like that could have landed there.
Bet Sphere. I gotta be honest with you, I'm not familiar with that. Are you?
I am not.
The Bet's Mystery Sphere.
Bet Sphere.
Wait, is that the one that the guy has to this day and tours around with? I know that there's a guy that has a metallic sphere.
You want to share a picture of it, whatever this is?
Yeah.
Mystery Sphere.
The Mystery Sphere.
Man finds sphere.
Here's a boy in his sphere. Let's see.
You heard it, sphere, folks.
All right, so
that's sphere. I'd like some schmear.
Here's a boy in his sphere.
Sphere.
But
we're having trouble with that, aren't we?
But yeah, I'm not familiar of the lore behind that. I'll have to check that out. So
all right. Now today Saban says the best sphere is gnarly.
Jesse, you do move fast. I'm yelling, slow down, girl, but you don't. Yeah, that's pretty much every day of my life, man. You need to slow down. And she doesn't include a lot of that because she's a hard charger, my little Jess there. So all right.
Well, I'm smaller than you and I can kind of move quicker through the woods.
Yeah, but a lot of times it's not, I mean, I could probably move faster, but it's just that I'm trying to like keep an eye out around us as well. But that's why we're a pretty good team, I think, is that Jesse is just laser focused on it. You know, I would not get as much done if I did not have Jesse dragging me along. So
Jesus.
And
I would not do it in such an orderly way.
Yes,
if I didn't have such a type A personality as you helping me. All right. Going through the chat.
Awesome conversation here as usual. I'm not even getting involved in it, but they're just.
Are you talking about the frequencies?
Just all of the stuff that's in here. They have just the extra dimensions, swarm intelligence, all sorts of stuff that you just don't usually see in like chats on here. It's always just brilliant. It's just absolutely brilliant. So,
Spooktator Bob mentioned the Black Hawk helicopters that crashed in Kentucky a few days ago. 9 killed. Yeah, I saw that when right after it happened.
It's like tragedy.
Yeah. Jeez, man. They are always doing training maneuvers outside of Fort Campbell. And there was a Black Hawk helicopter crash somewhere else where they do training.
Relatively, yeah. So we saw that, and I'll be honest with you, we just kind of went interesting, but you don't want to sensationalize something.
No.
When there's nine people died.
Yeah.
So there's 9 sets of parents out there that lost their
kids,
sons and daughters, and so there might have been something weird. There might not have been something weird. We even chose not to like really discuss it when it happened, just out of respect for the families. And you know what? Maybe down the road we'll revisit it. The timing is odd. The circumstances are odd. But at the same token, I don't know. We're just
not gonna be ghoulish.
Yeah, we don't want to be ghoulish about it either, man. It's the same token.
That's a no.
It's something to maybe revisit down the road after it's some time has passed from the.
But that's the home of the airborne. They're doing
stuff. Yeah, there's stuff doing that and training exercises. There's accidents, and like I said, but at the same token, it's weird, but like I said, again, we're not going to be ghoulish on it. We're gonna let it. And that's the sad part about a lot of this, is that a lot of this stuff, especially the stuff that involves human casualties, you got to walk a fine line. You want to include it if it's something that needs to be included.
I think when just like when you and I found those tents,
Yeah. It's just there's a human element to it as well, man.
Yeah. So. And when I get my other footage out, and then we get started on the releasing all of the LBL stuff, we found another tent, and that was kind of a rough find.
Yeah, that was a rough find, man. Because again, let's just lay our cards on the table. We think that people were staying in that edge of the LBL after the tornadoes that came through there. They were displaced. They didn't have a lot of that surrounding area. Take Two Wheels can do this. There's a lot of people there that are there's a lot of poverty in that region, and some of these people lost their homes and didn't have anywhere else to go to, and they didn't.
Yeah.
It's not as many social services in that areas. There is in metro areas, and we were hearing that people were going in there and basically living in like whatever tents they could scrape up because they had nowhere else to go to, and that they were going missing, and that nobody seemed to care. And when we found that first tent, we thought it was a hunter. When we found that second abandoned tent, and there was kids' clothes there, and there's they've got like porcelain dishes that are broken there. Nobody takes that camping. We were going, this is what this is. This was people who were staying here probably because they had no other choice, and they've gone missing. And it hit Jessie, man. It was rough because she was just going, they'd had something traumatic happen to them. They had nowhere else to go to, nowhere else to turn. They came out here, and then something bad happened to them.
Yeah, something.
And we're just not going to.
Even worse happened to them.
We're not going to. Yeah, just there's a difference between sharing information and tap dancing on somebody's grave like that. And we're going to try to err on the side of caution. So
yeah. I do have that footage, and I will release that. But we didn't do like we found it, we checked it out, but we didn't do like a in-depth investigation beyond that. We might return eventually, but
All right. Erav asked, "Where's Tent Guy?" I'm assuming you mean the tents that we found. We have no clue. We have no clue. This is what's weird. We go to Station 16, and those bones are cleared up. Those bones are gone when we go back. And then we go there. You'll see this footage. We go there and we find a few bones, but not like we found before. But I think because less time has passed since it was cleaned up. So there weren't as many there. But then we go back with Barton and Martin Groves and everybody like that. And most of them are gone.
Yeah.
Again. But then that tent, we had actually reported that first tent we found, and then we go back this time and it's still there.
All that's still there.
Still there. So it's just weird what gets kind of cleaned up and what doesn't. But at the same token, Station 16 is an easily recognizable landmark. Where we found that tent at is a lot more difficult to find. So, and maybe that didn't get passed along the proper channels to get cleaned up for whatever reason. But we don't know where any of those tent people were, man. So just looked like they were just snatched out in the night. So.
Jesus.
What is that?
Not today. Saban is like, oh, Joe and Jesse, tell everyone who solved Olber's paradox. The Hellbenders would love it. I don't know.
Oh, it's I was answering those messages.
Oh, okay.
Olber's paradox was Edgar Allan Poe, and I'm going, what? Edgar Allan Poe? And he was like, yep, Edgar Allan Poe. Actually, matter of fact, I still have it saved in my search history here. That was the night sky paradox. It's an argument that the darkness of the night sky conflicts with the assumption of an infinite and eternal universe. Okay. And Edgar Allan Poe had it described to him and was the one who solved it. So I thought that was pretty neat. So
if anybody knew darkness,
it was Edgar Allan Poe. So all right.
Well acquainted with the darkness.
Now they're going into string theory, effing Poe. Yep. So Richard Cox is talking about that there's little birds from Fort Campbell. Yeah, because isn't the SOAR guys up at Fort Campbell? I can't remember if Special Operations Aviation's up there. So yeah.
This is interesting.
What's that?
Deer in Headlights says paranormal investigators never ask ghosts about cryptids and aliens. They should know the answers.
That's actually, unless they're all the same thing.
You know what? I think maybe we should ask whenever
try to do that with a.
Whenever I do like those Estes sessions, we should start asking questions about like aliens and all kinds of, just really get weird with it.
Used Televisions asks, any idea if the under $100 night vision cams from Walmart or Amazon are any good? A couple of them, a lot of that real basic night vision stuff has gotten pretty good nowadays. It's got its limitations. Obviously, it's not Gen 3, but there's a couple that are on there. I'll send you some links probably tomorrow sometime, and I'll send you some links of some of the ones that I've heard that have done pretty good. All right. You guys are all over the place. String theory. And Richard Cox had mentioned on there as well that he was he was involved in military aviation. So thank you for your service, Sir Richard. So he was a Huey driver. Okay. Back in 84 to 86. So yeah, like I said, that's we'll look into that down the road. There is a lot of really strange helicopter activity going around the LBL right now. A lot of blacked out helicopters at night that were supposedly involved in and it's weird because at first they were supposedly involved with the hog eradication that was going on, and now they're supposedly involved with these training exercises that are taking place in the boundaries of the LBL, but nobody knows anything about them. So
I'm back in the saddle again.
all
All
right,
right, where we at, kids?
Just going through here. Talking about the helicopter activity. All right. I'm actually caught up in the chat for once.
I know what's going on here.
So yeah, if you guys got anything going, throw it up in there now. We're not going to go super long.
No,
tonight.
we're not, because we are both.
We're running on fumes.
We are running on fumes.
So
yeah. It has been. I don't know. This is the first time we're buying a house ever, so it's
been crazy.
It's crazy. It's exhausting. It's a lot of stuff, but yeah.
Sam Bolton, keep holy water in the car as a backup. We do keep holy water. Firearms disallowed in the LBL, so bring flare guns. We have protection that we bring into the LBL. We just don't show it a lot because you never know who's watching. You never know who's watching. So this is a good one. South Dakota. Have you thought that maybe the circle was caused by fae folk? That's one of the things that I'll be honest with you. I associate fae folk with almost everything that we encounter. You know, there's parallels to it. And it's so yes, we did. It's weird because I always feel kind of uncomfortable bringing up the fae because people are going, this dude's talking about fairies, you know. But that when you look at that original like European folklore like that, the fae were basically alien. They were alien. They were, when I say alien, not necessarily from another planet, but they were almost unknowable. They were very hard for mankind to decipher their intentions, and sometimes they would do things that you couldn't figure out why they were doing them. Their actions, you know, the reasons for their actions were only known to them. They were very capricious in how they acted, and they just so yeah. But it's hard to talk about because they've been Disneyfied so much. You know, everybody thinks of Tinkerbell and, you know, Santa's elves,
but really they're just terrifying, and
they're terrifying. original folklore like that, they're horrifying. They completely lack humanity, and even when they are, the best you can hope for is ambivalence. They're very petty. They're spiteful. You don't leave a saucer of milk out for a brownie and she slaughters all your cattle. You know, I mean, it's just, as those were the original. They were horrifying. They were horrifying creatures, and I think that that's closer to the truth of what people are dealing with out there. That a lot of this stuff has parallels with modern alien lore and everything. So yeah, I thought that it's hard to talk about a lot of times. It's all right.
Matt Keen says knife check.
Oh, we're actually rocking. We took them off before we sat down. We've been on dagger kicks lately.
Dagger kicks.
I have a weird one. If you guys have ever seen those Smith & Wesson knives, they're like the name's branded off to Taylor Cutlery. They make an HRT boot knife that's really well liked by a lot of people. It's got a 5-inch blade. They released, and they only released it like once, and then I guess it wasn't that big of a thing, but they released like a 6.5-inch version of it. So this thing is like ginormous.
Is that HRT?
Yeah, but it's like that was only released, and I was actually gonna start throwing it or do something with it because I'm going, it's an inexpensive knife. I'll just get another one. And then I realized they had just released it and they had released it once and then never done it. But it's a giant hunk of steel there. So
this here is a cold steel counterattack. Got that. Cool. All right. That is also a really cool dagger. It is completely flat on one side. And it's got a really rubberized handle. It is really cool. It's actually a pretty inexpensive cold steel, huh? But it's a perfect size for me.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite dagger still, I do have to say, is my Winkler dagger that I got when we went to go check out the Brown Mountain Lights. That is by far my favorite dagger I've ever gotten. But like daggers are just perfect for me because of their size.
MK Ultra's having a rough Monday. Sorry to hear that, buddy. Yeah, we're running a little on slow-mo tonight myself. So I feel you. I hope your day gets better. Or Russell Gray talks about that Smith & Wesson boot knife's insanely useful. Yeah, the big one's like it's a little too big to be useful for anything other than self-defense. But eyes in the woods. Be careful. This phenomenon gives what it gets. Be mindful of intent. I don't know if I agree with that 100%. I think that maybe sometimes the public facing, how this thing presents itself might play upon your intent, but I don't think that I have not had that experience that your intent shapes these things' actions, because there are a lot of people out there that have aggressive actions who didn't come out there with aggressive intentions.
Right.
And I do think that sometimes people,
but you can kind of shape the narrative to whatever you want it to be. Say somebody goes out there with aggressive actions and they get something aggressive back. You're like, oh, it gives what it gets. Or if you go out there with aggressive actions and nothing happens, like, oh, well, you don't get anything.
Yeah, and I understand that. I'm just saying that I don't know if it that's something I've thought about a bit. I don't know where I stand on that as of right now. So if if a matching of energies is something that occurs. Yeah, I don't know if that's.
I think familiarity has more of an effect on it than intention, because you and I don't go out there with any kind of intention.
Yeah,
we don't go out there with the intention of finding anything in particular. Other than, if we find something, we've talked about this before, it will find evidence of something that is typically Bigfoot. And then we'll go out there with Bigfoot centered stuff, because we can only carry so much out there. And then the phenomenon presents itself as like a ghostly thing. So
a lot of times it seems like it's giving you what you're not looking for. Steve Causey, somebody. You guys are going to investigate the feral people in East Tennessee at some point. If anybody has any specific sightings or cases that have happened recently, or if there's a pattern, I would love to look into.
Yeah, we just kind of need like something narrowed down.
We've been into areas that have rumors of those before, and we've found some weird stuff in the woods, but you're not sure if it's modern occult practices or if it's somebody who could be considered feral. We've never ran across somebody actually making the weird little stick structures and everything like that. So I don't know whether we have encountered them secondhand or not, but if you've ever got anything in there, let us know. So
not today, Saban. I agree with this. I found that pure curiosity, and I mean genuine, unabashed, open-minded, non-ideologically pure curiosity is best. I think I agree with that myself. That you are so open to whatever is out there that you are kind of open. You have like an open conduit, an open line to it. I think that is pretty accurate.
Take Two Wheels had gone through, and he actually found he's extremely thorough with like the footage that we put out. He goes frame by frame sometimes. He
helped us with the jumper.
Yeah, great deal. And he had a thing of mist where I think I'm getting rushed by something. He had a screen capture, like a particular frame that showed something. I don't know what. I don't know what. So, hey, Lance Landmark has a thing. The NV100 is a good cheap night vision unit.
Frank left his knife in the attic.
What?
Of the house.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll get with Lori and get that.
Yeah, so, I'll get with the realtor. Oops.
Whoops. People talking about the intent for stuff. I don't know if, and you know what, you've got very, interesting take on it here. The intelligence and military guys are looking out for national security, aka military intent, tend to have negative experiences. You try to outsmart it, it'll be the trickster. But yeah, I mean, then if you go to what about the more physical incarnations of the phenomenon that people run into, and they're just out minding their own business and they have very negative, sometimes fatal encounters.
Yeah.
What about the guy who, and I don't think they've ever released his name, but the gentleman who was motoring, just driving by with his daughter, and they saw the lights and they were just like, oh, look at those. And one flew through the car and flew through his chest and caused him insanely horrible, health problems.
Right.
There's another guy that's mentioned in the book who sees a orb out in front of his house and comes out and looks at it with the flashlight, and he gets hit with something. He basically got hit with ionizing radiation. So a lot of times people are minding their own business and they don't really have an opinion one way or the other, and they have extremely negative interactions with it. So
the consequences that follow. It's weird. Larry Sharp says,
well,
thank
you
sir,
for that, sir.
What is a good night vision camera to use? Well, it depends on your budget. We use a full spectrum cam called the Phasm cam from Ghost Stop, and those run with the additional light about what, $350?
Yeah, something like that. If you get the light in that, $350, and it's an action camera, so that it doesn't focus. It's got a fairly short range of video, but it's very sensitive to light. We picked up some of the spook lights that we've seen that you couldn't pick up with anything else have shown up on that. For distance, we use this Sonics Aurora full color night vision.
Yeah.
We just use the sport model. I'm trying to figure out if there's any difference between the sport and the other versions. It looks like they use the exact same sensor. We got the sport pretty inexpensive when it came out. And they raised prices shortly after we got it. But
the only issue I have with the sport is it doesn't have an automatic focus of any kind.
You can put it on like an infinity focus and it does okay at different levels, but it's still not 100% dialed in. And we want to try to get as clear footage as possible.
Yeah. But we did get the Brown Mountain lights on it and they look amazing.
But I'm telling you right now, if you're looking for just a night vision camera, like you're thinking about going out and doing this sort of stuff, or something's happened around your home or when you're out and you're trying to capture it, we started off with a just Chinese made, no name, like one of those weird names, like what Kiko brand night vision cameras. We started off with one of those that we got secondhand, and we got it on Amazon Warehouse. We used that for years, and I'll tell you, there's been cases where we have used that and it's picked up stuff that other cameras won't. And somebody else has mentioned that, and if you're in the chat right now, I can't remember exactly who it was. Somebody else mentioned that they had better luck with less expensive night vision camera with picking up certain lights. So if you're looking to just get an all-purpose short range one, that Phasm cam by Ghost Stop, it's made for ghost hunters, but so far it's been pretty durable. And we have known several people that have gotten that. The Dooster's got one. The Wild and Weird West Virginia guys got a couple of them after we started using them. So people have used that. If you are looking for longer range stuff, but with color, get a Sonics. It's worth the money. At least the base model is. If you're looking to, you just go, hey, I just want to get something. We can probably put up a link on like a good, just basic night vision camera from Amazon.
Otherworld Strange Stories.
Thank you for that.
Says, have you ever found any good hair sample or maybe blood that might give you a good lead for any type of bipedal cryptid? We found some really strange hair up in trees. It's really very, very long, which is kind of strange.
We almost thought it was like off a horse's mane.
Yeah, but we were nowhere a horse could access.
Yeah, I mean, we're real tight in like mountain laurels, and we're following a fairly narrow game trail over really rocky terrain.
Yeah, that you could barely get through. You would have to kind of crawl through.
Yeah, and we're finding it really high up in the air, and it's long. Now, birds will take hair and carry it away to make their nests, and sometimes they drop it. But this is under the canopy, and it's only on like lower hanging branches. It's pulled off of something going through there, and it's long. We've got a couple of those, but we don't have a lab to send them to.
Yeah, so that's the problem is getting something like that tested. Where do you send something like that to get tested? That's very, very expensive to do.
Yeah, and that's even if money's not an option,
access.
Who's going to do it for you? Because we don't know what it's hair of. It might be It might be mundane. We don't know. We only found it in an area. We found it in an area where we had some more weird experiences, but we didn't see what left it. And but yeah, we found hair evidence before. We were talking to a guy, an actual zoologist that works at a local zoo that's fairly close to us. I won't go exactly where. And he was just like, yeah, I just can't take anything into the lab and test it. You know,
they'll get fired.
Yeah, he's like, because he was even trying to like look into a way to help us, he
Yeah.
or her, he or she, and was just going, because he's got an interest in this stuff, but it's a kiss of death, man, professionally. And he works at a zoo. She works at a zoo. Whoever this is works at a zoo. And I'm trying to be like as non-specific as
your
possible.
Your ambiguity is so weird. The way
but
you're approaching
I know, but he, they said that they just couldn't take it in and get it tested. They just couldn't sneak it in because it's somebody's going to go, why are we testing this hair? You know, but even then it was weird. Like I said, I don't think it was we've never found like a smoking gun, like piece of hair. Like we saw a Sasquatch or a dog man, and then we go up to where we saw it at, and then wow, it brushed against this dead log and it pulled some hairs out.
Now, if that happened, I would definitely
try to get testing.
I would definitely try to get that
tested, push it regardless of like the cost.
I would pay the money for that. Yeah. But we can't just throw money at testing everything that we find, because it's that we would just be in the poorhouse in a second.
Yeah,
you know.
So.
Take Two Wheels says, when's the second part of the Burning Circle? The Burning Circle. We're crossing over titles here. The Black Circle. I don't even know the name of my video. When is the second part of the Black Circle coming out? Your videos are getting addictive. Hopefully in the next couple of week or so. We're about to like move. So
yeah, there may not even be a show next week.
Yeah.
We don't know yet. On Monday.
Yeah, we're in that. We've got to pack up everything in the house and move in the next like week and a half, 2 weeks. So we have a lot of stuff to pack and a lot of stuff that's taking, precedent over that right now. But when we are done moving, we will go full speed ahead into all of this, because we'll finally be in a place where we can actually get stuff done in a better manner. So just be patient with us. We might not have a show next Monday because of that, because we might have the whole studio setup packed up, and hopefully we'll be on our way to the next place.
Manu says, I believe this phenomena is toxic to material life. And I think I agree with you on that. I think that you look at the stuff that's coming out now with the physical effects that people are exhibiting after having UAP encounters, and the government is starting to look at that. And then there's people that have had the physical effects from physical cryptids. Martin Groves, for example, other people that have had this zap. Sometimes it's short-term effects. Sometimes it's short-term effects followed by long-term effects. I think that even people something I've been thinking of is that even people will go, wow, it opened me up spiritually. I feel that it opened up a part of me that had been closed before then. That may or may not be true. I can't speak for that. But I will say that sometimes people that have extremely negative physical conditions like brain tumors will sometimes feel that they have had an awakening because of a change in their brains. You know what I'm saying? And that change at its core is not positive, it's negative, you know? So, but I'm with you on that. My gut instinct to this has always been that none of this is good. None of this is beneficial. None of this is, I don't think that I don't believe in the Easter Bunny, you know?
So why, if you find it, that none of it is good, none of it is, I don't think it's good, or I think some of it's evil.
But at the same token, look at it like this. If it's so indifferent to us, I don't think that some of it goes out and goes, I'm going to mess some people up today.
Yeah.
It may be indifferent to us. It's still toxic.
Yeah.
Cyanide doesn't care whether you drink it or not. Doesn't care whether you live or die, but you still drink it and you're going to die. I think that it's might be indifferent to us, but just be toxic to us.
Yeah.
By virtue of that it's from somewhere else where the environment's toxic. And I just don't think that any of it, and you're going to ask, why do we go out and look for it? I just want to know, man, you know, I mean, people go out and they skydive, you know, gravity ain't exactly.
People go to Chernobyl and walk around.
Yeah. You know, I mean, gravity ain't exactly your friend when you're doing that, but it's still, I don't think that, and we've mentioned this a couple times, I don't have any of these and I know you don't either. We don't have an elevated opinion of ourselves we need to do it because we're going to be the ones that find answers. We're just trying to find answers for ourselves and share what we find. We don't ever expect to be, I've used this analogy, we don't ever expect to be at the UN giving our presentation on what we have learned about the paranormal world. I mean, we don't have delusions of grandeur like that, but at the same token, I want to look at it. I want to look for it.
And Matt Keene says that he had a TBI and he's had a lot of negative experiences after that.
but you also have had those people who have had those traumatic brain injuries and they've exhibited like and they might very well be. They might be more spiritually in tune at this point. But at the end of the day, it was still something negative that brought it about. So, but the fact that these things are toxic is that's a very good analogy. Sheldon and Dawn, how are you? Do you guys use parabolic dishes? We do. Well, let me put it to you like this. We have them. We rarely use it. We were in the mountains of North Georgia and we were hearing what sounded like high-pitched samurai chatter, faux speech, whatever you want to call it. We could hear it. Even I could hear it to a certain extent. Jesse could hear it much better. Our little action cams, we had some knockoff GoPros. What were those? The Akaso action cams, and the microphones couldn't pick it up. So a lot of times it seems like we're chasing this stuff with tech, and we had to rush out and we had to get a parabolic dish set up. So we had a Zune H1N Pro, or H4N Pro rather, and we had a Wildtronics mini parabolic, because they make some really large ones, but everything we have has to be packed away. We have to be able to carry it on our backpacks. So we got the mini parabolic, and it works exceptionally well. We just don't find ourselves using it that much because it's really basically it's a stationary setup. I guess you could use it short term on the move. It's just that the Zoom sucks up the power. So we've got a thing rigged up where we can,
and also any kind of jostling will kind of
picks it up like you wouldn't believe.
That dish,
So it's good for if you want to set up stationary and not plan on moving, but we're really kinetic a lot of times. And a lot of times if we see or hear anything, 9 times out of 10, we want to move towards it. So we've got it. It works great. We just don't find ourselves using it that often. So, but it's a good setup for what it is. So.
Take Two Wheels says, my mother, who is 81, wants to know what a UAP is. She's officially the oldest hellbender.
It's an unidentified aerial phenomenon. It's the new rebranding of UFOs. And we were actually talking about this a couple of weeks ago, that to me, we were kind of resistant to that language at first because we're like, they're just trying to change it to make it more palatable to people.
Yeah, to try to get rid of the stigma of UFO.
But unidentified flying object, to me, that means a physical craft that's flying and you can't figure out what it is. Unidentified aerial phenomena,
that can cover
a lot of stuff,
a lot of different stuff, even light phenomenon,
plasma phenomenon. It doesn't necessarily have to be a nuts and bolts craft, because I don't think we've ever seen a nuts and bolts craft.
No, what you could be described as that. No.
So, but it the Deucer's going to bed. He's night Deucer. But to me, it almost seems like the UAP is a more accurate definition of at least what we're experiencing and what most people are experiencing nowadays, as opposed to UFO.
Sheldon and Dawn asks, are there lone staircases in the LBLs? Yeah, so there used to be homes all over, like scattered up and down the peninsula. Everybody got kicked off in the 1960s when the TVA took over. So there were houses there. So you're going to find concrete and brick staircases all throughout the woods there, because there used to be houses standing there. I know there's a lot of different paranormal lore that have to go along with lone staircases. And I think recently somebody must have done some video or something where they're talking about staircases in the woods that go nowhere. Because people have asked me about that recently.
It was a Reddit thing for a while, but it had a resurgence in popularity for it. So
yeah, but I mean, there's a logical explanation for why they're there.
Man after my own heart. Imagine being made of light density particles with a wide Planck variant. Visible light from LEDs could be like taking buckshot. Yeah, that's our guy right there. That's our guy. Eyes in the Woods. Hey, this got a great thing, man. Phasm Cam and lighter on sale, just about $179 last week.
Yeah.
So if you guys are looking to get it, hey, we've got an affiliate link if you want to help a brother out.
Yeah, that's it.
Can you get the affiliate link and post it real quick?
Yeah, I can see if I can find that real quick.
If y'all don't want to, and that's fine, but if you go buy it anyway,
you're gonna buy it anyway.
Hook us up. Because we're going to just use that to buy stuff from Ghost Stop ourselves. There's a few things we need to do to kind of round out the equipment stuff. So
I'll take care of that while you're doing that.
Sheldon Don says that I may use Goofy, but I use gas funnels. I never thought of that before.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Dewey made one. The Deuster made one with a big steel, like aluminum dish of some sort. I guess it's the microphone has to be extremely like precisely placed in order to max it out. But we've got it. We've got a really good setup. Heck, I could even grab it. It's not, yeah, here. You entertain the fine folks for a second.
I'm trying to do this. Where are you going?
Do both.
Do both. I'm trying to find an affiliate link here, and here's what I'm getting. This demand to do both. All right, I'm finding this affiliate link. Here we go. Referral.
All right. I still got the little.
All right. Here is that.
This is a Wildtronics.
I just put that in the chat. Anyway.
Cool. Yeah, if y'all are going to buy a Phasm Cam and Light from Ghost Stop, use our affiliate link, man. It'll help us get more cool little gadgets. So that's actually not that big, as you can tell. I'll kind of hold it up, use my head for scale. I have a pretty big sized dome, but it had to be small because we can tuck this in the exterior part of our pack to carry. But it's just that then you have to get it hooked up. The microphone runs off phantom power, so it drains the zoom really quickly. But yeah, we've got it. It works really well. We were thinking about building one, but I wanted it to be as sensitive as possible. So, and I wanted it to be light and durable. So I went ahead and just we pulled the trigger on this. But yeah, there you go. That's our Wildtronics.
It's super light. Like it's very light. Yeah. I'm catching up to the chat here. I was looking for that affiliate link, and I have phased out here. Shade Viking says UAP sounds like an insult.
All right. Yeah, not today. Gets he's our type of guy. He's more educated in this stuff than we are. We have to kind of learn it as we go along sometimes. So that's
he said if somebody sends him a 12-pack of Wicked Weed Pernicious, and I'll do a Hellbent TED Talk on theoretical physics.
Yeah, like I said, where we have to kind of play catch up and we have to devote a lot of time to this. He has been schooled. He's had some schooling. So I said that the other day, actually. I was working on something and I was going, man, I wish I'd gone to college for like electrical engineering with the stuff that I'm trying to do here, because I'm having to constantly stop and go down this and learn it. But I mean, that's what's cool about this is, again, if we stop doing this tomorrow, just the education we've had doing this is like crazy.
Yeah, but I think we've got a lot of different people who have a lot of different backgrounds that can contribute
to it. So yeah,
fill in those gaps there. You know, I mean, we've got Dewey on a mission right now that neither of us could possibly ever accomplish. So it's good to have it takes a village for this Hellbent.
Manu wants to know, and this is a great question actually, where, if circumstances allow it, do you see Hellbent Holler advancing into the future? We are going to, even if we kill the channel tomorrow, we'll keep doing what we're doing
for sure.
I don't want to kill the channel because I'll be honest with you, I was resistant to the idea of a channel to begin with. Jesse really wanted to do this, and the reason why we started off is, and this sounds like there should be violins playing. Let us tell you what beautiful people we are. We had somebody who, when we released one of our videos, was unable to get out in the woods themselves for physical reasons. And they really enjoyed it. And that kind of touched a chord with Jesse, that it was kind of cool that we were
hiking through the woods and
sharing this stuff. And people were actually finding like a value in it. And it was very touching. So we decided to kind of ramp it up on that. But I was still a little ambivalent on it. But I'll tell you, the people that we have been able to make contact with, a lot of you guys that are in this chat right now, we never would have had contact with you all if we didn't have this channel. So now I see it, instead of it almost being kind of like, I don't know, like, oh, that's all, it takes a lot of ego to put, too much ego to put videos of yourself out. Instead, I'm going, wow, it really opens up your networking. We make contact with people that we never would have made contact with.
And you can have conversations that you could have never had.
You're not going to get these off
in a small circle,
off like a Facebook Bigfoot group. I mean, you're not going to have people on here talking about the possible, photon effect on like, creatures. You're not going to get that on Facebook, man. You're going to get like TikTok videos being shared. So
yeah, for sure.
So this has developed into such a unique thing, I think, in this cryptid and paranormal landscape, just because it's such a weird mix of like humor and people actually enjoying it.
And
Because I'll
just
be
the
honest with you, I find myself not going to other things a lot of times because it's the same old stuff over and
Mhm.
over again. So I don't see the channel ending, but if it did end, we'd continue doing what we're doing. We're still going to remain focused on the Southern Appalachians. I would like to see it kind of broaden out into other areas
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of this stuff is connected, and you're going to see our instrumentation grow, because I think definitely some of this stuff exists outside the realm of our current scientific understanding, but I think parts of it are detectable and measurable, and maybe we can get some data on there and start seeing some patterns. Hey, these people, when they're experiencing this sort of activity, we're catching radiation signatures. I want to try to get a muon detector built over the next like few months, once we get settled in, um, and just stuff like that. So I want to see us just, and I'm gonna be honest with you too, I want to see us get weirder with it too. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, well, see, that's
Because
where I'm gonna come in.
yeah, I think that's where Jesse is getting.
We've talked about this for a good bit. We want to get weirder with the tech for sure. We want to go in some really intense scientific directions with it, but present it in a palatable way.
Yeah, if it's
In a
not enjoyable, nobody's gonna watch it.
in a
So, yeah.
digestible way for sure, and get real data on things that people are experiencing and things that we are
But at the
experiencing.
same token, get weirder and more.
But I want to go deeper and weirder into the more spiritual side of things.
Those of you who watch Thunder the Barbarian, super science and sorcery.
So we want to go.
Yeah.
I want to go deeper in sort of like a ritualistic occult angle as well, and yeah, combine super science and sorcery to really take it to the next level and really kind of experiment with the other and the phenomena. I think it could be really interesting or really dangerous. I'm not sure, but I don't think anybody else is going to be able to accomplish that to the degree that you and I can, because you and I come from different kind of perspectives on things.
Yeah, exactly.
And the way I'm presenting things in these videos, I think is getting better and better. And I think that once we kind of start really honing in on what we want to present and how we want to present it, and really focusing on these experiments we want to take part in, I think it's going to get really strange. But I think you guys are really going to like it. So,
Pyromatic, this is just a technical thing. Someone said they use a parabolic microphone without the dish and it works well. The microphone is just a regular shotgun mic in a lot of cases, or an omnidirectional mic. And you just place it a certain distance to try to catch the maximum amount of sound in that. But I mean, I could use that mic that's with it just as a standard, like standalone mic. It would be no problem at all. Lady Wolf says, just to learn to learn. Once one experiences just one thing that you've been conditioned, your mind doesn't exist. It's difficult not to have a open mind afterwards. Yeah, that's exactly where we come with it. And let's see.
Richard Cox says, remember this: a young man works to make a living, a grown man works to make a difference, an old man works to make a legacy. That is a great quote. A good little quote there. Yeah, that's another good thing about us being independent from the start, is that we are able to do things our own way, and we don't have to adhere to a personality created for us by a network or anything like that, or expectations created by someone else who has produced us in any kind of way. We came to this on our own accord, and we've been independent from the start. And you know, I'm very protective of what we do, and the integrity of what we do. So.
What I like about it too is that with us just being completely independent, and there's just two of us, there's obviously a group dynamic that takes place, because you and I go head to head, and you know, we lock horns on a lot of stuff, but at the same token, we can kind of both just go, all right, we'll try it, whatever. Our way of thinking like evolves with this stuff, and we're not locked into like group dynamics where we're going, oh, you can't talk about that here because it's going to cause a problem. Gary hates when you talk about the woo. We can be completely scientific one week and then be completely wooey the next week, and those things are not mutually exclusive, I don't think. But we can just basically follow where the data and the evidence takes us, and we don't have to worry about politics with it.
Yeah, and we can pretty much say what we want, and we can
say what we want, do what we want.
It's fun to kind of post theories that would otherwise be just like laughable to say, like the aper type people, you've got somebody like that involved, and they just try to shout you down about this whole aper thing, and we want to propose an idea that is sort of outside the box, and maybe try an experiment that's outside the box. And I think that that's great that you and I can just do whatever we want to, because I make the videos and I film it and I go out in the woods and we pay for everything. So,
and Eva DeLutis, I just said to somebody yesterday that what this field needs is a theoretical physicist. You're starting to have real hardcore.
Saban says there's several.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You're starting to have some people really kind of come out. You're having some really heavy hitting people that are coming forward with this that are, Loeb, who's, an astrophysicist. You've got a lot of people that are really involved with this sort of stuff now, and they're mostly coming at it from a UAP angle. But here's the deal. They like UAPs are the gateway drug. And then now they start looking into the hitchhiker effect. And then attached to the hitchhiker effect are the physical creatures that seem to follow you along with the hitchhiker effect. You're starting to really see, and that's why, I was never a UFO guy. I was never really into that. It just didn't interest me. I knew that there were the main cases and all that, but you're starting to see that that's what people are experiencing, and that's what there's parallels between the UFO, the UAP phenomenon, and physical cryptids, hauntings, portal activity, missing time, the missing 411 stuff. All of that seems to have. I think what happens is that people are starting to realize it's one large phenomenon with different aspects, and people have been focused on different aspects, and that's why we haven't gotten anywhere. The Bigfoot people didn't talk to the ghost hunters, and the ghost hunters didn't talk to the UFO hunters, and nobody talked to the dogman people because that just seems silly.
Because they're just in the corner screaming.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Melody asks, would it be possible to buy a microscope and take a picture of the strange hair and post it to the web for a match? We do have a field microscope.
Just a little portable one.
But it's just a portable one.
It's like literally like yay big that we can carry in our backpacks. So, well, you know what? We maybe see if we can get a photo of that if it's going to show anything out. The magnification's not great on it, but
you can give it a try.
Damien K, how are you, sir? Our buddy Martin Groves.
And we are not franchising Hellbent Holler. Don't you guys even suggest that?
Yeah.
You guys don't want any part of this, Dewey.
Wait, Dewey's still on here? I thought Dewey's
No, that's a Wall Card reference.
Oh, okay. I don't know what that is. So
the movie Wall Card. It's when they're doing the cocaine.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
You don't want any part of this, Dewey.
All right. Larry Sharp, is there a difference in seasons with sightings? For us, at least, personal experience, it's hard to tell. Here's why. A lot of the stuff that people will report to us, and I'm just basing off what gets reported to us directly, some of the stuff that happens in the warmer months in areas that have a lot of outdoor activity, especially if it's like a Class B type thing, if it's a sound they heard, or if it's anything that happened out of the ordinary, but it didn't involve a physical, I saw it, it was right there from 10 feet away, it was 10 feet tall, covered in hair. We have a tendency to be a bit more, I don't want to say critical, to have a bigger filter in like warmer months. We ourselves seem to experience less in warmer months. We seem to experience more when it's fall hits.
Yeah.
We're actually heading into the slow time of the year for us. And it's weird because I'll see, especially a lot of Bigfoot people are like, oh, spring is here. It's time to get back out in the woods. And I'm going, we've never really had.
Well, I mean, think about that. Spring is here. It's time to get back out in the woods. So you have more of a human presence in the woods. So if there's something like a Sasquatch in the woods, it's going to get pushed deeper into the woods and further back.
Same token, we've had stuff happen in the summertime. Don't get me wrong. We got that thermal image was in Midsummer's Night, the But it
well, that's somewhere at the LBL where you don't have a lot of people in general.
yeah, exactly,
even on like the nicest part of the summer, the hottest part of the summer, you don't have a lot of people there.
Yeah.
So that still applies to that.
Jones said Farms, like we've been independent from the start. Yeah, and we've got people that we correspond with and that we share information with. And it's weird because over the past, I think, year, definitely, you've started to see people kind of gravitate towards one another, because they're the serious people about this are kind of gravitating towards one another right now. That's happening. You're starting to see people who are going, they're starting to recognize kindred spirits, even if you're in a different part of the country. And everybody, the people that kind of talk the same language are getting together at this point.
Yeah.
Even if you have completely different skill sets, the people that are taking it seriously are gravitating together, and it's pretty cool. So
let's follow up on this summer thing with Not Today Saban, as usual. It depends on the type of encounter. There's more humidity and moisture in the air. Things like astral or orb phenomenon are going to be harder to gauge just due to the presence of matter in the air. Winter, you're far more apt to see things clearly because of the thinning of the particles in the air around you.
Yeah, very good.
Now, we also have trouble when fog rolls in for, kind of a similar
fog.
thing.
This was a real foggy winter. And we our red
as you can tell,
lights,
because we filmed that intro during the winter. But like when the fog rolls in, our thermals are not very
useless
at all,
because it basically, you can't use thermals through glass window panes. It just, the heat won't come through. It just reflects. You're getting the coldness, and the same thing with the fog. You're just getting the water droplets that are in the air. They're too thick to get pierced by the thermal imagers. That's our red flashlights really shine. Get it? And
it's because it's a flashlight.
Fog, yeah, and foggy areas where the white light will just reflect back at us and blind us. The red seem to penetrate a little bit better. So
good night, Paul. Paul's going to bed. And
Danny Mitchell from Southwest Virginia. Southwest Virginia is a giant hotspot right now. Giant hotspot. Giant hotspot. So people dog me out because I screamed. Yeah, I was kind of hoping that you guys would hear that and think it was Jesse, because then I'm like, what did you see? What did you see? But we were already like tense at that point. And then she just,
of course, yeah.
And like, it just hit me. It just came out. You know what I'm saying? So just came out. I mean, I caught myself pretty good, but that was me screaming. So,
yeah.
Yep. I gotta admit it. You know what? Everybody lets a little scream jump out every once in a while. So
Martin Gross has an idea here. Joe and Jesse, when you guys go back to the black circle, would it be possible that before you leave that area, you can replay those growls and see what happens?
We've got a little portable Bluetooth speaker that's pretty powerful that we could maybe use for that. So hike it in with us and do it. That's actually a pretty good idea, buddy. So
I could isolate them and kind of put together a little like file that you could do.
Paul's out. Paul, have a good evening, sir. We're not running too much longer ourselves here.
No.
So. Brian's all the way from Australia.
E-Rev says that you recovered well.
Yeah, just wow, what? So
that's how you know, we're not like faking any of this stuff, because
somebody told us that the acting in it sucked. And I was going, what? And they were like, oh yeah, your acting sucks. You guys really need to go do a better job. It's good in a Blair Witchy kind of way, but
our acting
sucked. And I was just going, thanks, man. All right. Yeah, we'll try to do better.
It's because it's not acting.
Yeah, but our acting sucked.
I don't think I would ever do. I get embarrassed to put some of that stuff up. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, it's embarrassed, man. It's embarrassing.
Some of that stuff I get embarrassed to actually show. Like sometimes I'll have like a clip and I'll put it together and I'll be like, Joe, I need you to come and look at this. And he'll come and he'll look at it and I'll be like, I really don't want to show this. And he's like, you kind of have to. It's kind of what happened and it gives context to everything. So you kind of have to. So it's like a lot of that is I don't want other people to see. But hey, it's part of the process to share with you guys.
Mike Mezek, I actually got the same kind of burning light on my camera on my property this weekend. Have you put that video up anywhere? I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I'd like to check that out.
I'd very much like to see it.
I'd like to compare the two. That'd be pretty neat. God, wouldn't it be crazy if those like pop up all over the country
all of a sudden? So
yeah.
I'm interested if you guys think any of these cryptids are connected to the cult activity. We don't know. We don't know if, I mean, there's stories in this particular area that go back since there have been people here to tell those stories. And it mirrors a lot of what we've experienced. But there may have been human spiritual activity taking place in that area as well, stretching back. I don't know. As far as modern times go, we don't know if this is just like we've heard them called window areas, PowerPoint areas, like power areas, just areas that have like a weird sort of energy to them. Maybe the cryptid paranormal activity is being attracted there and the human activity is being attracted there separately, but for the same reasons. Maybe the human activity is strengthening the other activity. Maybe the other activity is strengthened. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't, maybe they're not connected in the slightest. We can't really say for sure. They're occurring in proximity to each other and there seems to be some sort of connection there, but I don't know what's influencing what. So.
All right, we are going to wrap it up
here in a minute.
In a minute. So if you guys have anything else, let's throw that out there. We don't know if we're going to be doing a show next week.
Yeah, we may not be back next week
because we might
be
trying to box everything up, and we got to pack up the studio stuff and all the equipment and try to get everything moved. But we will have a new studio on the return.
Yeah, you might be seeing us.
So we'll have a new setup.
Cryptid Response jumped in. What's up, buddy? Mike's also saying it was weird. A month before someone or something left me a piece of quartz on my table. That's where that light was.
Oh.
Because we have found quartz around the tree.
So there's another parallel.
There nearby, we were finding pieces of quartz that have been set up around a tree nearby. Yeah, if you could see, that's interesting. That's definitely interesting.
Cryptid Response says that idea Martin had is ingenious. Change the pitch of the growls and see who comes to investigate the new guy in town. Right. Good night, Martin Groves.
Yeah, we're cutting off, folks. I think we're gonna go and call it.
Shade back. We're shade.
Shy Violent. Thank you for acting lessons. Yeah, they were just.
That'll get us far. For acting lessons.
Acting lessons.
Oh, the Shade Viking says, you guys are acting and think you're doing X-Files. Just admit it.
I
don't want to be.
I don't like public speaking very well. Although that sounds odd because I go off on these rants, but I don't like public speaking. I don't like the idea. Like if you were to go, hey, Joe, I need you to stand here and deliver this line. I would be like, okay.
Hello.
I
am Joe.
Just out here hunting Bigfoot. Yes. But yeah, I was saying that our acting was.
We're doing the X-File. Can I be the horny FBI man?
Horny FBI man. So anyway. Jeff Townsend, thank you for that.
Thank you, Jeff.
$20 with nothing on there. Just take it.
Just take
it. Thank you, buddy. We appreciate that, sir.
Damian K, did you find quartz yet? We find quartz all the time.
We found quartz that was staged around that weird tree that I don't like, that I get a bad feeling off of. Well, we caught that audio. We came up and something had placed quartz all around the roots, and then we came back and the quartz was gone. Now we found quartz a few miles away from there.
Yeah.
Miles away from there. But someone was putting quartz around the roots and they were gone. And then there was a single feather that was left there that we weren't sure that was just happenstance or what. So
Joan said Farm says, congrats on the new adventure and moving. Get yourselves moved in. Us Hellbenders will be here.
We might try to do like a tiny one.
We're gonna try. So the house we're getting is over 100 years old. So it might be haunted. We don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's gonna be. And guess what? Our internet is going to be blazing fast.
So
we're going to have real adult internet, like real normal person internet. So it's going to be great. So we're not going to have, knock on wood, we're not going to have any of these problems that we've encountered with the backwoods internet that we've had during the entire time you people have known us.
So, all right. Anybody else got anything? At all? Last week, I got a comment, question, anything we need to address before we wrap it up? Let's get Dead End Yard Hunt's showing up to help us move. All right, man.
We need a mule to get some of this stuff out of here. Not Today's Bond says, would you guys actually watch a Hellbent physics talk? Actually, that'd be something we would think about down the road.
Yeah, if you would want to,
be-
it wouldn't be a big audience, obviously. I know most people will tune in and then just kind of jump right back off. I thought about trying to do like a little weekly segment on just the more obscure stuff that wouldn't really appeal to a lot of people. Like I think it's interesting that there are some parallels that can be made between a circuit board and like sigils. You know what I'm saying? That the way that this strange arcane pattern that energy flows through and seems to have a prescribed response. And I was just going, that's kind of something. I was looking at some of the seals of Solomon and I'm going, God, that looks like a circuit board.
Yeah.
You know, I ought to have a talk on that one night. Nobody's going to care or listen. Few people might, but yeah, we might actually set that up one night for the 5 or 10 people out there that would be interested in something like that.
We will use the damned firewall.
Even if it's something that we're just completely off in left field.
Yeah.
And it's just completely, let's just say wrong. I think stuff like that's so important because you're expanding your perspective so well, and you just, it's almost like a mental exercise that opens you up to other stuff.
Yeah.
So that way you're just not so, well, that's impossible. You know, no,
Kinda
man, it's not impossible. Let's talk about
your
why.
perspective.
So
Grace W., thank you so much for that. That is awesome. Appreciate it.
It's just so tied up on this donkey. So.
Gunpowder Owl, thank you for that housewarming gift for the ghosts at the new Hellbent Manor.
And that's the thing, is that Jesse's going, what if we're moving into a haunted house? And I was like, do you realize how much easier our jobs just got? We're not going out of the woods this week, guys. We're just going to set it, because we've talked about that all the time. Like how, like, man, we ought to be ghost hunters. We'd be indoors right now. We'd be, you know,
Hellbent homebodies, baby.
Hellbent homebodies, man. Yeah. We'll both gain 50 pounds each, Oh, we're just staying at home again this week, guys. So
doing some research.
Yard Hunt 999 for the Mule Fund. So
I told Joe, I was like, so we're going to start that moving. Somebody had a thing like pizza and beer money. I was like, I say the first night we get moved in, we're just getting pizza. We're eating it on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, if that house is, because what's crazy is y'all saw we were having some weird stuff happen around here. We were having stuff that was happening when we weren't on Mondays. It was happening all the time, but we were having stuff happen just when we were chilling out in the living room, and then that just all kind of stopped.
Yeah,
that all just kind of came to a. We still have some weird tech stuff every once in a while, but we got old internet, man. It's just. It might just be that. But.
Not today, Saban says, "LOL, did y'all effing DoorDash a haunted house?" We might have. We don't know. I
don't know if I can put the mule money up yet. So,
goodness.
Then yard hunt them. I know we're gonna end up getting like a box with like holes poked in it someday, and it's going to be. It's literally just going to be.
They're really kicking us out of the. They're kicking us out of that dang post office. If we
get like a mule showing up, yeah, we're done. They're just gonna the postmaster general himself will be there, just going, hey, y'all are even.
Sheila Ebeling says the Hellbent B&B.
The Hellbent B&B, heck, so win an all expense paid weekend at Hellbent Holler.
It's just us in robes with coffee, just yelling at each other.
So. All right, guys, we are wrapping it.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you guys this week.
We will. We don't know if we're going to do like a regular show next week, but we might be doing a live at some point in the next few weeks or days or whatever. We won't leave you guys hanging for long. We love you guys, and we love you guys so much.
This is like literally the highlight of our week,
Yeah.
And we were so resistant to doing it. And I'm going, why are we going to do a live? What are we going to talk about? What are we not going to talk about?
What are we not going to talk about?
So
not today's bond says that'll be the best episode of Cribs. Yeah.
Sam Burton, I don't want any of your goats, buddy. Sam Burton suffered a vicious goat attack a couple of weeks ago.
A vicious goat attack. Oh,
Kentucky Boy 22 just got on. Yeah, we're wrapping her up here, man. You have to go back and watch it from the beginning.
I'm gonna go make dinner and then go to bed. We've been dealing with house stuff all day, so
yeah.
And then now I gotta go track down Frank's knife that's in the attic of the house.
Yeah,
so
I'm gonna try to get that done. So
yeah. Anyway. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Make sure you guys are still subscribed. Make sure you have your notification bell to black, correct? Not white.
Always bet on black.
Always bet on black. Bet on black, kids.
But
yeah, make sure you have your notifications on. Make sure you're still subscribed because we kind of get something wonky going on with YouTube. So make sure you do that. If you guys want to get in touch with us, our email is down below there. You can do that. We will still have the same P.O. box because I love the post office that I use. So we will still have that lucky 777 P.O. box. And we will be moving over the next 2 weeks, but we'll try to pop on and do a live every now and then. We might actually do a live from the new house at some point.
We might. We'll see.
Yes. So, but thank you guys for joining us. Got anything you want to throw up there? You good to go?
I got nothing, man. So
Cool,
I just appreciate all
guys.
you guys popping in, and I just, we really, and I do want to say this. I really appreciate all of the kind words and support we got. I'm glad that you all took the time to not just instantly default to looking at what we presented in the black circle and going, oh, it's nothing. At least you sat there and you gave it a chance. And I think that many of you that gave it a chance went, yeah, that's weird. Still not saying what it is, what it's not, but I just appreciate the open-mindedness that everybody had and the willing to at least, hear us out and look and see what we had as before you made like a snap judgment on it. I appreciate that. Even if you came away going, not sure what it is, guys. It might be just this. At least you were willing to just at least hear us out on why we thought it was strange. And I really appreciate that. I was taken aback at how open everybody was to that, and we really appreciate it. So
yes, thank you, and look out for part 2. If I get it done, I'll throw it up there, guys. I will try to hammer at it as I go and get that out of there. Spoiler alert: there's a Hellbent Holler trope in there.
What is the trope? Oh, yeah, there is a Hellbent Holler trope in there. Jesse steps in poop again. So that's coming out.
You spoiled the great surprise. I do step in poop again.
Steps and scat again. So,
mystery scat. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to throw up some music. You guys talk about yourselves and say goodbye. Thank you guys for joining us again. We love you guys, and we will see you soon.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you so
bed, Matt Keenan. Go to bed.
Go to bed, Matt.